Cool. We've got this now. So I think it's this one, right? All right. Okay, so let us attack this bag of lemons. When life gives you lemons, you make applesauce. All right. So here is our bag of lemons, and here is our reference. So whenever like we're looking at something like this, right? The problem is we're not drawing through those forms. So when I say draw through those forms, here's what I mean. So if I've got a lemon like that, let's grab my brush and then just do a simple circle. Let's do okay. So whenever this does not look good. Let's find a better brush. Maybe this one will look better. Okay, this one looks a little better. I need something that's a little more painterly. So that's acrylic. Okay, pencil. There we go. All right. So what you really want to do is kind of, whenever you're drawing, right, your shapes, the idea of the draw through is I'm going to imagine that I can see through, right, the shape. And just by those two lines, it kind of gives it like a 3D impression already, right? So I'm just giving my object dimension. This is the idea of draw through, is you're drawing through your object to give it more dimension. And this is going to help you in figuring out how those shapes are relating to each other. Because now, okay, if this is in 3D space this way, I know this one's in front of it. Right now, right, I'm going to put this one right here. Right, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to imagine that I can see what's going on through here. Right, I'm going to imagine that I can see everything that's going on through here. I'm going to draw through that bag. Right, draw through it. Right. So if this is our bag, it's going to come to like right here. And then we've got one that's tucked right here. So you see that draw through? I'm drawing through it to give me a better idea right here. Right? Draw through it. Right? So that it'll help you define, okay, what's going on and be like, oh, okay, I know this is how this is going, so I would, throw some shading and some highlight here, and I can still go and erase it like later on. Right? And some artists will leave line work in because they feel like it looks, more artistic or whatever. So I'll eventually erase this extra stuff, my extra line work, for the most part. But that idea is giving me this dimension of, okay, it's giving me more 3D, more of a 3D look. Right? So I'm going to draw through, right? I'm going to draw through those shapes, right? And now look, this is my hemisphere. Like even the lighting is telling me what this is supposed to look. So this is my hemisphere, right? I've got one right down the middle right here. And then I've got another one right here. Right? And this is how these spheres, right? This is the sphere, right? So now I can just use that as, okay, I know that this is kind of like that. And then I can just erase it. I can erase the extra stuff that I don't want, leaving that other stuff. And then I'm, now I can see how this bag is gonna behave. All right, so let's see. This bag is kind of coming in like that. Swoopty swoop, boom, like that. We're putting it there. All right, and now we can start to give our bag a little bit, trying to attack those folds. Actually, this goes this way. And then you've got like a fold right here, because what's happening is, what I'm imagining is, there are lemons, right? Like there are other lemons in this bag, right? And that's what's causing these ripples. See, that's the idea of draw through. Like now that, now that I can draw, just stack a few. I don't even know what it looks like, but I'm imagining that there are these lemons in this bag, and because of that, it's giving me the ability, right, to draw, what would happen and imagine. So it's a study, right, as well, right? It's a study as well as our observation skills, right? So like, so now there's all this stuff in there, right? So we've got a bag full of lemons, and then we've got two outside. Let me make it another layer. You've got, so look at where the horizon line is. So it's right at this lemon and the back of this bag. So the horizon line would be right there. All right. Then we've got our lemon one. And now what I like to do is I like to figure out what the negative space is like, right? That's the idea of some of this stuff, is trying to figure out what that negative space is doing, right? Because that will inform you as to how these are, right? The relationships of objects is important, and that's what's going to make stuff look more real as well, is how they relate to each other, right? So I know that, the relationship between this leaf is, well, this leaf is in front of it, right? This leaf right here is in front of that, and this one is somewhere under there, right? It's behind this. So you have to use the light and shadow to kind of describe the relationship that you're seeing. And that's what's going to give you, that idea of depth, that idea of realism. All right? So that's what I'm trying to teach you guys. I'm trying to use, see, like now, like if I look at mine, right, I can tell, look a little, I've got this little bow right here, boom, boom. That's not the exact relationship. So I need to figure, so now I know that my lemon, right, needs to be bigger, right? I'm using those negative spaces, and that's what's going to give you much more realistic looking drawings, is if you're using, right, you're using the objects to tell you what's going on in there, right? Don't just glance at it once and try to imagine it on the paper. I'm going back and forth. I'm looking at what's going on here, right? How much is this space? What is this space like between here, this lemon, and this bag, right? What's this space like right here, right? How far is this lemon from this thing? I'm trying to use whatever I can to find me the relationships between these, right? Like what internal, what's the black and white of this, right? What's the negative space? And that's little things like that that's what's really gonna help sell your drawings and give you better artwork. And then I need to ground all of this with a shadow, right? So if I don't ground all of this with a shadow, right, you can see that it's grounded. It looks like it's on the ground because of the shadow. So I need to do that for mine as well. So I'd need to, And you can see it's got a very harsh shadow. Right? It looks like it's like a singular light or something, a very bright singular light. So it's giving us a very, very harsh shadow. Right? So if I draw this guy, this is the cone. All right, this is my lemon, and then my leaves. So then I just, a beer, and I don't like to erase much. I don't like to erase a lot because sometimes it's just the drawing and itself. What it does is it kind of shows your thought process, right? Like when you leave your line work like that, it shows your thought process, and that's sometimes it's some of the most beautiful artwork, right? Like if we look at like Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, some of the most popular of their drawings or some of their most popular works are the ones that it looks like it's unfinished, right? So it shows you a lot of what they were thinking. So let me show you what I'm talking about. And a lot of artists do it, right? Sometimes it's to the point now that I feel like it's like a style, right? Not just like truly, it's not true the art of the process, right? Like this, you can tell, right? He's thinking through this drawing, right? If you look at this guy right here, right, you can still see the line work. You can see where he was trying to do something, right? He was trying to maybe etch out the ear, right? That's literally what he was doing right here. He was like, let me figure out what this ear looks like. All right, now that I know the shape of this guy's ear, let me put it back on here. Let me draw it in there, right? Okay, this is what he would look like from the side, right? This is gonna help me understand how his mouth would move on the other way, right? So leaving some of your line work in the drawing will help you. It gives it kind of a cooler, thought process. It makes you look like more of a well thought out artist, right? Like that, man. This to artists, like to other artists, to other concept artists and character artists and stuff like that. They see that and they look at it the way I would look at it, which is like, oh man, okay, let me look at this guy's thought process, how he approaches his drawings, how he breaks down his shapes, how he comes to making these designs, or what's his decision making process. And it's essentially like in 3D showing your wireframe, right? That's how I would consider it. You're showing your wireframe. You're showing, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is my thought process. This is how I would go about doing it. And it tells a lot about you as an artist, right? It tells, okay, this guy's look, he's trying different things, right? And it gives us an insight into how this person draws, right? So, this horse looks freaking nuts, but it's still pretty cool. So, yeah, so that's my little, kind of spiel on, drawing through shapes and giving yourself a better understanding. And, in 3D, if somebody contracted me and was like, I need you to make this and draw and they were like, you have 2 weeks or, you have 48 hours to turn it around. 48 hours, that's 2 days. All right. First thing I'm doing is I'm going to bring this picture inside of 3ds Max, make all these little objects, in 3D space. It's not even going to be perfect. It's going to be circles and, circles in a cylinder. I'm not going to do any of the extra, maybe I'll do the leaves just so I can get it matched and correct. And then I'm bringing it back, right, saving out a still, and then using that to do a draw over. Because what that's going to mean is everything's going to be correct. Everything's going to be perfect. Everything's going to look right. It's going to be right, right? Because I've already done it in 3D space, and it makes sense. Now, I don't have to figure out how all this work that I'm doing right here, where I'm trying to figure out how they relate. I don't have to do that because I've already done it in 3D software, right? So that's another thing that you can do is if somebody says, hey, I've got this that I need you to, make it look like a drawing, or make it, that's how you can do that as well. So that's another little technique that you guys can use to really make your stuff pop. So, all right. That is the drawing spiel.